We know the Cubs missed out on Alex Bregman, but should you be concerned about Matt Shaw's oblique tightness now? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to join us every day and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Alexander Canario, possibly at first base. Seiya and Craig Counsell communication issues and resolving those with some more Seiya talk. And we're going to start with Matt Shaw, who Cubs manager Craig Counsell announced on Friday. That Matt Shaw, top prospect, is dealing with an oblique issue that has slowed the beginning of his spring training. Counsell said he doesn't anticipate any problems, though. And sure enough, by Sunday's workout at Sloan Park in Mesa, AZ, Shaw was fielding, throwing, doing some hitting drills as well. All of this after Alex Bregman signed with the Red Sox, putting Shaw in firm position to start at third on opening day. Sam, welcome to the first week of spring training games. And Matt Shaw might very well be the clear choice at the hot corner for the Cubs.
Well, if he isn't, at this point, that would be a really big story. Let's talk about the oblique thing first, and then we could talk about what this means for him, because I do think there is like a clear picture for him now that the Bregman sweepstakes are over. It is his job. They may say that he has to earn it, but if he's healthy and with all due respect, somebody like John Birdie is starting, something probably went wrong there. But look, I want to start by saying this. It sounds like it's a minor issue and everything's fine, but I've learned in this game for a long time, when you hear the word oblique, it's just something that brings concern to me. We've heard it a lot with Seiya. Javier Assad is now fighting something which I think is a little bit more serious than Shaw's, clearly. To me, with a position player, oblique is the buzzword you don't want to hear. And with a pitcher, it's elbow or like lat. Those are the buzzwords. Those are the body parts that when they're in pain, it just concerns you, because even if there's just a 1% slight twinge, all the torque, everything you're putting into your body, it worries you. And again, this is me being me. I take these things probably out of context because that's what I do. But Matt Shaw's 23 years old, and I don't like that. I don't like that there's a little oblique tightness going on for somebody that young. But it does seem like as the weekend progressed, it went from, hey, this is a minor thing to this is virtually nothing. So hopefully he will be ready to go, hopefully Friday, for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Cubs open up first couple games, Cubs-Dodgers there Thursday and Friday. First game on television is that Friday game, Cubs-Dodgers on Marquee, although that Thursday game is on Sportsnet LA. I do think initially Friday when the news dropped, Sam, I was a victim, and I took the bait. I think sometimes in our digital landscape, we tend to react immediately.
Yeah.
It actually happened with the Cubs-Astros negotiations. People saw Seiya's name in the headline, but if you actually clicked on Ken Rosenthal's report, like in paragraph 3, it actually wasn't even that far down, basically said, hey, Cubs aren't going to trade him to the Astros. Yet people keep talked about it. You clicked on this, it was like third paragraph. Craig Counsell said, hey, it's not going to be a problem next week. He should be full go. So, some of this stuff, let's take our time with, for better or worse. For example, Brandon Birdsell is out a month. Did you see that?
Yep.
So that, and while Assad might only be out a few days, that dropped on the same day last week. I just keep going back to Shaw, Sam, with Counsell playing a pivotal role in his journey. Other coaches and certainly fellow players, but PCA, Bush, Amaya. Counsell said he didn't actually have a convo with those three guys of, hey, it's your job.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that type of line of thinking helps players because they're people too. And Shaw's going to hit 7th, 8th, or 9th. He's going to play third. They're really going to try to build this runway for him to establish himself. And when he's actually going to get off the runway, that's a different question. But I think he has the credentials to do it. But at the same time, it's fair to say there is some concern because he has only played 35 games at AAA, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I could list the 4 dudes' names that are behind him.
Right.
John Birdie, Vidal Brujan, Gage Workman, all in the 40-man. And then Nicky Lopez, who's also in camp as a non-roster player. So the depth in volume is available there, but the quality of player is lighter. And while I'm excited for Shaw, I think him in the lineup, Tucker in the lineup, and Bellinger and Paredes being subtracted, that does excite me. But it definitely brings some questions, especially given a little bit of a slower start due to the oblique.
Well, first of all, I just want to say publicly that first part about reacting was and accepted a direct shot at yours truly. And
there's plenty of people doing it.
No, but I do it a lot. And I just, I'm sitting on a Friday afternoon and I see the one guy right after Bregman with oblique tightness. And yeah, I paced around the complex a little bit and then it started snowing. But look, let's also add this layer to it, Matt. We did the same exact thing last year with Morel, and it worked out very poorly. And so I think that also brings people this apprehensiveness, if you will, regarding this. But I do believe
trepidation, you might say.
Trepidation's the word I was looking for.
Right.
And I get it, but I do think that this is a different thing. Matt Shaw is much better defensively than Christopher Morel. He's a much less volatile player. Morel was a flashes guy, right? He would show his amazing arm, his amazing power. Matt Shaw's more day in, day out substance. I believe he has a much higher floor than Christopher Morel had going into this position. But I do think a lot of the concern that comes from Matt Shaw being over there is because we literally have had this exact same conversation last year at this time with a similar situation, if you will. And I just think that I think they're different. And I think ultimately Matt Shaw is going to be fine. I have a lot of belief in him.
Yeah, it's important to make that distinction of there being a difference because the main one I could think of right away, besides how highly the Cubs think of Shaw, which I thought they thought highly of Morel, but not to this extent, is from Mike Scioscia. During that Premier 12 tournament, how Scioscia was talking about Shaw's play at third. And I think that did ease a little bit of my worry about him defensively, just because he was a surefire shortstop in Maryland. He's more natural as a second baseman. So in terms of his range, his ability to first pick up the baseball, I'm really curious to see how his arm plays over there. And that's something I'm going to be looking forward to in spring training games. But you have a Hall of Famer in Mike Scioscia praising Shaw, and then Morel got a ground ball to his left with a man on first, and literally he would throw the ball to first.
Right.
And so the concern, that's why when people have asked us before, What's your concern level? Mild. Whereas Morel, I remember you saying it could be like a zoo over there.
Yeah, it was a
And
disaster.
guess what?
Huh.
It was. I don't think zoo is the right analogy. Maybe circus.
Circus. You're looking for
Fangraphs project Shaw 2.4 WAR 106 WRC plus projected slash line 248 319 406 with 17 home runs in 125 games, and I hope for his and the Cubs' sake he plays more games than that.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. One player that's not new to the team, he's been around since the 2022 campaign, is Seya Suzuki, and him and Craig Counsell apparently had some communication issues last year. We're going to get to that and then break down a little bit of Seiya's 24 into 25 right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Select Quote. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from Select Quote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. Select Quote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What a year for the Bears that was. What sets Select Quote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fit-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. Select Quote. They shop, you save.
As spring camp continues to build, Craig Counsell and Seya Suzuki both acknowledged communications issues last season to the assembled media, revealing the two of them spoke recently about things on and off the field. Seiya's relationship with the Cubs first emerged as a topic, if we all remember, at the winter meetings in December when agent Joel Wolf said the team approached him about Seiya possibly waiving his no-trade clause, and that in hindsight, his client likely wouldn't have signed with the team as a full-time DH, which is exactly where Counsell plans to start him for most of this upcoming year. Counsell said he expects to have a better vibe with Seiya in his second season at the helm. Quote, "We both talked about it, and at the end of the year, I put it on myself, just doing a better job with talking to him. Sometimes the language barrier makes you lazy, unfortunately, and that's on me. I got to get better at doing that and will. That's something that I promised Seiya," close quote. Sam, one thing I know for sure, Seiya is going to be a major part of this team, major factor, really towards whether or not the Cubs are going to do not only well, but really well in 25 and 26.
Matt, would you say that since we took over this program in July of 2022,
July 5th, 2022, yeah.
Would you say that Seya Suzuki is probably the individual we have covered the most since we've taken over? Is that fair to say? He was on the team. I feel like we've had the most conversations about Seiya on this show.
Second would be Hap.
Yeah, second would be Hap, and then probably Dansby because of the free agency that came from that.
In terms of players, right?
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is because, you know, we've talked a lot about Seiya, and this was probably the first offseason we really did not discuss him a lot until his name came up. Yeah. And I think it's because for the first time as a program, we're both really on the same page with him. And I think the fans are as well, which is, you know, it's not, hey, can Seiya hit 40 homers? Can Seiya be a 950 OPS guy? It's like he is what he is. And the word that I've used to describe him on the show often is enigma. And
Yep.
that word is not, I don't mean that to be an insult, because he's a talented guy. In 2023, I gave up on him. And then all of a sudden he comes out in August and September and crushes it. But there just always seems to be something with him, whether it's not wanting to DH, whether it's mostly physical injuries and limitations, and now a communication thing with Counsell. And I wonder, like, why that came out. Was my first response. Like, why was that public? He had a fine season last year, probably his best season start to finish in since he's been in the bigs. Can you believe this will be year 4 for him, by the way, already? He had one bad month that was directly attributed to his oblique injury in May. You take away May, he was one of the 5, 6, 7 best hitters in the sport. And I understand that this is probably derived around the right field versus DH thing, but I was surprised that Seiya came out and said it. And then Counsell really affirmed it and made it basically saying, yeah, it was it. And I was lazy and I got to be better. I wonder what he's talking about. It has to be something about communicating to him why he's DHing versus playing right field. Don't you think that's what it is?
Yeah, it must be, because Seiya also commented that he couldn't share too much of the convo between Counsell and himself, but just felt like they could do it better. And so I have to imagine that's the main part of it, because him making that move proved to be a bonus for the Cubs, a plus for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also would think on the opposite side, does Seiya not realize his struggles in right field, really down to the routine play, multiple times where he would miss a fly ball. And so, yeah, do players have ups and downs? Has there been some chatter about, him and his strife with the mental part of the game? I think ultimately the Cubs are just trying to help him. At least I would hope so. And so maybe some of that dialogue did get lost in translation. It's hard to decipher that. But what I didn't realize, Sam, was Seiya, again, you're saying he's entering his 4th year. Last year, he posted his career high in on-base percentage and home runs with 21. Is that right?
Yeah, well,
that's a low, around this time of year, like you commented on his round the other day, or was it even a live AB?
Yeah, no, he was taking BP.
And it's like, this guy just posted a career high of 21 long balls, and he had an on-base percentage high. I have a lot of high hopes for him.
Yeah, and I think I'm more just like, this is who he is. And
yeah, right, with him and Hap, right?
Yeah, and I mean, last year, first of all, there were win concerns, and he only played 132 baseball games. That's not a full season.
That's right.
He's missing a full month of baseball.
It's a lot.
His rookie year, he only played 111 baseball games.
Wow.
That's just not enough. And so hopefully DHing helps with that. I think this year for Seiya, I've talked about Dansby. I've talked about Nico. With his contract expiring after the 26th season, and now he knows he's playing DH. He's with Counsell. Like, it just feels like if there's going to be another jump for him, it's this year. Rookie year, new country, major adjustments, got it. Second year, didn't go that well, really struggled, then got hot late. Third year, new manager, really did well for most of the year, had a good, like if he has the exact same season he had last year, plays 150 games and turns in, that 21 turns into 28, 29, I think that's all good enough, especially now that you have Kyle Tucker. But I really do believe this season will kind of define how the fan base views Seiya, because this is a year the Cubs got to win. And I think to win, he has to produce.
And I want to see what his approach is. It took him 2.5 years to be more aggressive on an pitch.
You're not going to like this. I was watching Kyle's video on the setup man. He took some live swings against Matthew Boyd. He went 0 for 3 with 3 Ks, and 2 of them were looking.
He didn't even go down swinging?
No, twice out of the 3 Ks.
That's going to be the annoying part of the first part of the year. It's like you've just been off for 4 months. Swing. Too passive on the first pitch. And we always say, well, 0-1 could become 0-2 really quick. And I think with him, it did. And Sam, what do you think a game goal for anyone should be, but especially Seiya? I say 2 weeks of games subtracted.
140.
I'd say 148. What about you?
One for Seiya, 140, 145.
Okay, so even a little bit less, yeah.
Based on his history. So.
Right. All right. Right now, Michael Busch is pretty lonely over at first base, and there could be a certain former top prospect that helps him out over there as he tries to lock up his bid for a opening day roster spot. And we're going to tell you who that is next.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. What I've been doing a lot on FanDuel is taking a look at these MLB future bets. And folks, I got one for you. I got a pick for you, and it's about our ball club. Matthew, PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong's over-under steals, over-under stolen bases right now for the season is 29.5. He had 27. He had 27 last year in about 130 plus games. That's an easy over. We're going to take that and we're going to cash it on FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook betting partner of the NBA.
All right, last segment here on a Monday episode. Alexander Canario started to get work at first base last week as the Cubs are searching for more ways for the former top prospect to contribute in 2025. Canario is out of minor league options, and while he is currently projected to make the roster, he would provide even more flexibility from both the outfield and first base, especially as a right-handed hitting option behind starter Michael Busch. Canario hit 37 home runs across 3 minor league levels back in 22, debuted for the Cubs in 23, also had a cup of coffee for the team last year. Sam, thoughts about Canario as a slug option off the bench? We knew as an outfielder, but maybe as a first baseman too.
Yeah, I mean, we've floated that on the show. I remember us doing that. Could Canario just learn the position and play there? I really would like to know the next media availability, whenever that is. I would love for somebody to ask Craig, what is the plan with Michael Busch this year? Is the plan to play him regularly against left-handers as well? Because if that's the case, then the Canario thing becomes a lot more foreseeable. But to just have a guy who hasn't really played the position a ton just come in and be the guy. I mean, sometimes you could face 5 lefties in 7 days. And if he's out there playing first base, we've seen this movie before with Wisdom over there at first base. Like you kind of waste your whole infield. Let's say Shaw's doing a really nice job over at the hot corner. And then you have Dansby and Nico that are solid up the middle. And every now and then they spike a throw and Canario can't dig it out. That ruins the whole value of the defense. I don't like the whole experiment thing at first, unless he's really going to play there just to spell Bush maybe, 2-3 times a month. And so I just want to know, the plan with Bush, because last year was a fairly strict platoon. Most of the time lefties pitched, it was, Patrick Wisdom over there or, whatever else it was. I blacked out most of 2024 out of my head.
Wow.
But if Bush is the plan, that's fine. If you really want to do a strict platoon, I do think I would like to see more of a guy that's played the first base position that could go over there like a Justin Turner.
Yeah, it might be too large of a risk. I could see that. I'm glad that he's getting work over there. I wouldn't mind even other dudes getting work there, albeit not right-handed, like in Casey or something like that. It's you actually brought up Canario for first base a couple of weeks ago,
right?
And I don't think this was on anybody's radar, but perhaps it really is just a last-ditch effort for him to try to find a spot in the organization. If that is, and if that's the 26th player, then that's what it is. But in a time where defense is at a premium, I just don't see a path to him actually being sent out there. Certainly not starting a game. I could see him finishing a game at first.
If it's a blowout.
Yeah, up or down a lot, and that's about it. Because he could also finish a game at left, center, and right, or play a series, but not first. And really, if you go across left, center, right, Sam, Canario is not in a convo to pick up an IL stint.
No.
If Happ goes on the IL, Owen Casey's coming up.
You think so?
If Tucker goes down, Owen Casey is coming up.
Alcantara.
And if PCA goes down, Kevin Alcantara's coming up.
Right.
I guess I don't want to personalize it too much on Canario, but I think this really is a last month or so effort to see if they could get anything out of the guy.
Well, also, yes, it is. But there also is a dramatic splits thing with him. Like, he does mash lefties. Yeah. And so if you do have a concern, I have it right in front of me here. In the minor leagues last year, 799 OPS against righties, 961 OPS against lefties.
Wow.
And in his brief time in the bigs, he's also hit lefties much better. So, if you are trying to convert him into a lefty masher, where's the only place that really helps the Cubs? Well, it would be first base. But, I've maintained the point a lot on this program. I just don't think learning first base is as easy as people think. I mean, how many times do we see a little ground ball between first and second? Does the first baseman go after it, or does he retreat to the bag? And if he goes after it, does he cut it off? And then does the pitcher know that he's got to cover, or does the pitcher think it's a second baseman's ball? How many times do we see that happen? How many times do we see, Dansby, he wants to intentionally spike a ball to give a good bounce. But if you can't handle that, that's going to go E6, but it really should be E3. So there's a lot of different, parts of this where I actually think is bad. I think Alexander Canario will hit lefties better than Michael Bush in 2025. I don't think that's a bold statement to make, but can he play the position at a level that is, doesn't destroy the rest of the infield?
Do you have a concern level, Michael Bush facing a lefty, especially to start a game? against like a starting pitcher?
No, I don't have a concern level. I just think I just think he's a singles guy that's probably, he's looking to ambush guys. He's doing a lot of predetermined swings against lefties. I probably would bat him maybe 7th or 8th against left-handers, where I believed in your opening day lineup versus a righty, he was, right there in the middle.
He was cleanup.
Yeah, which I don't think Michael Busch should back cleanup, but that's a different story for a different time.
Different episode. Yeah. Justin Turner and Mark Canha are the best free agent targets for a right-handed hitting first base option. And just because I am a GM in my dreams, Yuli Gurriel could also be had on a minor league deal if the Northsiders want to go that route.
Ooh, haven't done my homework.
So we got three options there as a right-handed hitting first baseman. Turner would offer the most upside, but Canha hit like 280 last year against lefties. So he hasn't really slowed down necessarily on his best attributes.
I really enjoy Mark Canha. We did an episode on Mark Canha. He was the lead. He was the title.
Right.
I enjoy him. I think he's a winning ball player and would be fine bringing him in.
All right. We will be back tomorrow. This week, we're talking Cubs NL Central chances. And, of course, we'll be following the news and notes out of Sloan Park there in Mesa, AZ. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. We are here 5 days a week talking about all things Cubs. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube as we make the push to 13,000 subscribers. And we're streaming worldwide on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Sirius XM, and more. Shout out to all the audio peeps listening right now. For Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy, and you are now Locked On Cubs.
See ya.